Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to our Python series. We're going to have a lot of fun today because we're going to actually dip into a little bit of conditional logic. We're also going to learn a little bit about importing functions from the standard library in Python. Could be fun, and a little bit of inline comments on why those are important. That said, let's jump into the business of the day, shall we? Let me get my computer squared away. Where am I at here? There we are. There we are. Let's get you there. Yeah. Learning Python, that's what we're doing today. Now, as a reminder, we've been building an app, right? We built this brute force py.app because we are brute forcing our way into this 192.168.1.163 application. Yay, I did it right. Remembering IPs. And this BWAP application, right? Ultimately, we want to be able to do this login brute force style. If I don't know what the creds are, even though it's right here printed on the screen, that is not a typical thing for most web apps. If it is, that's a bad security practice. Just throwing that out there, letting you know. Don't put your creds printed on the screen where the login form is, then anyone can use them. I know it sounds crazy, like, why would they do that? Because they're, fun again, bad people out there that will do stuff like that. And kind of acting as that threat actor, or maybe like a pen tester, an ethical hacker, something like that, I might want to try to brute force my way past that. Now, are there tools to do that? Of course. But every now and then it's good. And we're learning Python, so it'll be good for us to be able to do this on our own. All right, so that sets the stage. Back to the game. We've got this. We need to open bruteforce.py. And we're going to make some modifications. So let's get our text editors of choice open, whatever you like. And hello, do I have to do this? Yes, I guess I do. It's Shift Control Plus. And I'm going to open my file. So I'll just go to open recent, which is bruteforce.py. And there is our just amazing code. So pretty, right? But we're going to add to that a little bit today, right? Because like I said, maybe, just maybe, you want to get better at this, and that's the idea. So let's start off with arguments, right? We've talked about variables. Variables are very useful, right? We've got a few here ourselves, right? We got one right there is target URL. And you'll notice that we're using input to take that from the end user. That's not the only way you could do it. A lot of times you'll see these, as some people call them, positional parameters or command line arguments, where I give it, I go to the terminal. Oh, so what am I? I'm explaining things. I could show it to you, right? I go to the terminal, I type in bruteforce.py, and then I add something on the end. Sometimes you'll see switches like -C or -T or -O or whatever the dash thing is. Sometimes it's dash do this, right? Things like that. Those are called command line arguments. And we can add those because, hey, we have that ability within Python. So why not learn about that right now? Because maybe that's something you want to add to your code. I thought it'd be cool to show you how that works. We do that with importing, right? We need to import from the Python standard library the sys procedure or module or function or whatever the technical term is there is really insignificant at this point. But we need to import that ability into our program. And we do that by using the import statements. So let's do it. We're going to make some changes. That's right. So you'll typically do imports at the top of your script. So I will import right there. And this time I'm going to import sys. Sys, of course, if you're wondering what that is, you can go to Google Python documentation. So Python sys, and I just do documentation. And there it is, system-specific parameters and functions. There it is, okay. And it's going to tell us a little bit about that as it scrolls way past where it starts. The module provides, it's called a module, there you go, provides access to some variables used to or maintained by the interpreter and to functions that interact strongly with the interpreter, is always available unless explicitly noted otherwise. All variables are read-only, and then it has all these different options. So you've got sys.abi flags. But that's not what we're going to do. We're going to use the argv capability. So I'm going to do a control F to just search for that really quickly, sys.argv, and there it is. You can see that. Bing, sys.argv. And what does this do? What is sys.argv? Well, this is what gives us the option to actually, that's really hard to do. Like, I've so scrolled in. I'll do this, that it's just moving so quickly. It says the list of command line arguments passed to a Python script. And you've got this nomenclature right around there. That I will kind of blow up and give you the full screen. So it's right there. argv and then open brace 0, close brace 0. It says that the 0 is the script name, right? Is the script name. It is operating system dependent whether this is a full path name or not. So you'll need to know that. But that's what it is. That's the script name. If the argument was executed with -c in the command line option, and so on and so forth, really, this is the most important part of it for us, is that argv and then 0. Computers, fun fact, they start counting at 0 most of the time. So the first thing it sees in a position, let's jump in here and make this a little more understandable. So let's use this. We'll just kind of tag this down here. If we have a position, so let's say position, we'll do this, 0. This will be position, I cannot spell. This will be position 1, pause, we'll just do 2, just to make this easier, pause 3, and so on and so forth, right? For right now, this should be plenty to get our idea across. So to the Python, it sees this as argv 0, right? That's where that is. And this one will be argv 1, like that. So on and so forth. This one will be, I guess I can do that there, argv 2, and argv 3, argv 4. So these are the different positions of the argument. On the command line, it would be /brute force.py argv. This will be 1. So anything, so like if I put something here, something like that, and we come down, Python sees this as argv 0, and this one as argv 1, like that. So if I want to tell it where a positional argument is as I actually give it the command, it's going to look for argv 0, argv 1, argv 2, whatever I call down in my Python code. That's where it's going to look in for that thing, whatever that is. It is a built-in variable, basically. It exists. Whatever's there is whatever's in argv 0. Whatever's in argv 1 is what you typed at the terminal in that position. Fun, right? It actually can be, because that's how you can create arguments to pass to your code straight from the command line. Let's see. All right, let's get rid of all this. Don't need any of that. And let's go. We've imported sys. So the first thing we got to do is import that, because that's an external module. It's not just available. We have to import it. So we run that, import sys, and now we should be able to take that in. Okay, so I could come down here, and instead of target URL being inputs, we can make it sys.argv1. Okay, so let's do that. What we will do, it will be sys.argv1, like that. If everything goes well, we should be good. And then we can still chill with this. This looks good still. This should still work. All right, so I'm going to actually file save as, and we'll make this like v2, so we can keep our old version around. We want to continually version. If we ever need to step back, the code is there, right? So we'll do -v2. It is now saved, and if I go to my terminal and I run brute force -v2, should be there. Where are you at there? All right, let's see. Oh, you know what it is? It's not. We got to make it executable, or just use Python 3. So we can either say just Python 3 brute force -v2, like so. and then something fired off. And look, the target URL says something. It took it in from that positional parameter. Cool. I can make arguments now. And then we can use some conditional logic to make that even better. Now, one thing we do need to talk about really quick before we get too deep in the weeds is commenting your code. This is something that you should get in the habit of doing. And I don't say this because I'm gatekeeping Python or anything like that. I say it because it's a really good idea for you and for other people that are going to read your code. So if you build this and put it in GitHub and say, hey, check out my code, someone might go, yeah, especially if they're not really strong at Python, they might look at your code and go, what is this? I don't understand what's going on here. Comments are a great way to remind yourself why you did something or what you're doing at that point in time, and to help others that are trying to decipher the gobbledygook that we all tend to make as far as code goes and go, gotcha. That makes more sense. So please get in the habit of commenting your code. So let's do some commenting. I'll show you how to do it. It's super easy. We just have to add a hashtag wherever we want to comment something. So let's say we want to comment this import sys, right? I like to comment above it and not necessarily next to it. You can, to taste whatever you like. This is your mileage may vary, do as you will, but this is just my style. I like to comment above whatever it is I'm doing. Anything below the comment is what's going on code-wise. So I'll say importing the sys module so that we can, and then I'll just do another one, and I'll just kind of continue so that we can use command line arguments for target URL, right? And now I know exactly what the heck it is I was doing. And you just need those hashtags. There is multi-line commenting as well, but we're just going to stick with this simple stuff first, right? Just make it easy. And that's all I really wanted to do right there, right? And then I can even come down and do some commenting here if I like. I'll just call this the banner. So if I wanted to change the banner, I could go in here and make that happen. And here I can comment here and say, okay, this is take in URL target URL from command line. I don't need capital C, command line arg v1. Since I know what that is, I know what that positional parameter is. I can see it. And then I can put another one here. Let's get some scrolly, Daniel. Scroll. And then just print target URL to screen or terminal. Like that. See, really simple. It doesn't take you but a few seconds to make happen, but it can really make your life better down the road as you change things. All right. So I will save that, Control S. So it was fine. And the cool thing about this is none of this is going to get interpreted by Python. I don't have to worry about this. If I go and run this code again, you'll notice none of that stuff shows up. It doesn't cause any problems, which actually is another good reason to know how to comment in line. So in that line, if I wanted to comment something out so that it doesn't get interpreted by Python, doesn't see it and go, hey, let me try to run this as code, I can use that to kind of block things out, right? Let's see that. So let's say I want to take this print statement out for whatever reason. And I don't want it to print. I just want it to take in the target URL. If I just add that and save it and go run it again, you'll notice it doesn't print that part out. It just goes, you had a comment. I didn't bother with it. Have a good day. So if I'm ever having trouble with something, or I've built in some things as like tests or whatever, and we'll get to that kind of stuff as we move, you could then easily say, okay, that's going to get skipped over. And then when I need it, I can just uncomment it and bring it back or take it out as necessary. So you work a lot of that with testing as well. You comment things out, you add code, see if it works, comment it out, see if it still works. Sometimes you'll get into where your code is broken. You're like, what is not working here? Let me comment some things out that I think is causing the issue and see if it works. So it's a good testing tool as well. Okay. We got one more thing to do, and it's some conditional logic. This is the try except block. And you're gonna learn actually two things here. It's gonna be fun. So let's say I've got all this is fun. But what if there's an error? What if someone forgets something, right? What if things don't work? I can use the try except function or conditional logic to really easily go try to do this. If that doesn't work, then run this instead. That's basically what's going on. Try to do this. If that doesn't work, then run this. So whatever's in the try block, it's going to try. That's right. And if you have an exception, an error, something doesn't go right, whatever, then throw it in the except area. So let's add that. So I'm going to say, let's start here, and I'll go with try and a colon. That's how you start. Now, once you introduce something like this, it does bring up an interesting point about Python. Python uses indentation as part of its syntax. You must indent code as it blocks in, right? And if you don't do it right, it will complain. Let's see what I'm talking about here, shall we? So I'm just going to leave that there. I'm going to say try. I'm going to bring this print statement back into the mix. So that's our main code. But what if someone doesn't do it? What if I forget to put a positional parameter there? What if I forget that command line argument? Right? What should I do? Well, let's do an except colon, and then I'll put a print statement like prints. And I like doing things like this, like, hey, attention, you have done something wrong. No target URL specified. Bing, 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 right? And then I can also print, like, let's see here. Maybe I'll give it an example. I like do this. I like to keep it all very lovely looking. And then do like usage. Right? Is that how you spell usage? I think it is. Usage. And then show them how it should be run. So / oh man, my fingers got in the wrong spot. / brute force.py, and then HTTP target -URL, something like that, right? Finish that off. So that should work. Now, remember I was talking about indentation. You'll notice I haven't done any indenting. Let's see what happens when I save this and try to run it. So let's go here. We'll run this again. And see, you get error city. It says, hey, even though like all the Python I wrote, I'm pretty sure is correct, it said indentation error, expected an indented block after try statement on line 7. Okay. So if we go to line 7, okay, we're line 7. There's line 7. So after line 7, this junk is supposed to be indented. It didn't like it. You must do indentation, and it will complain if you do not do it right. So I'm going to grab all these, right? And then just tab. Two schools of thoughts on tabs versus spaces. I think that the Python style guide or whatever tells you to use spaces. I think that is but I'm tabbing here for brevity. I'm not going to go back and and space my way all through this. And then I need to do the same thing for the except block. I have to tab that over. So these things must be tabbed. Okay, you following the bouncing ball? All right. Control S to save. Now let's go run this thing. And oh, look, it worked, right? Had everything right. I didn't get any indentation errors. I am seeing that this jumped over with the tabs, right? Because I added tabs, and with multi-line printing, it's a little fun little fact. Anything between this and this, which includes these tab spaces, will get printed. So you got to keep that in mind when it comes to you building your app and making it look like how you want it to look. Just fun little quirks of playing the game with Python, right? But there we go. Everything did work. Now let's run it in a way like that is wrong. Let's forget to put the command line argument and just fire it off. You'll notice that it gave me this. Hey, no target URL specified. Here's the usage. Brute force, it should look like this. Oh, yeah, that's right. You'll notice it did run this part in the try block though, because it got to where it was asking for this and that wasn't there. It tried this and it didn't work because that didn't exist. There was nothing. So an exception was raised and it jumped down to accept. Fun little fact, right? So there's some conditional logic for you as well. Really neat. Again, some things that we got to keep in mind when it comes to formatting. We've got to make sure that indentation is on point. If we don't indent correctly, it's not going to work and get errors. But we were able to import sys and use that module for grabbing command line arguments. And maybe that's the way you want to go. Maybe you want to do more menu driven. I know I like doing that. I'll probably go back to that. Or maybe you want to give both options where, hey, you can just throw this from the command line, or if you want the wizard, as it were, to kind of guide you through what you got to do, that's available as well. You can do both. That's the fun part about it. And that's, hopefully you learned a bit today about Python. Our tool is getting better. Yeah, we haven't done anything cybersecurity quite yet, but we're getting there. We got to make the tool. We got to get you up to speed about certain basics and fundamentals so that all that stuff as we get there makes more sense. But we've covered a lot of ground today, and hopefully that is whetting your appetite for the stuff to come, because we are going to get into that very, very quickly, probably within the next episode. Thank you for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you in that episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And until next time, keep hacking.